Welcome back, everyone, for Real Terms with AI Season 2, where we cover things about AI, but using terms software developers actually know.
Last season, we covered many of the building blocks for using generative AI, from topics like retrieval augmented generation to data protection and even how to use tools and things like function calling. But this season, it's going to be all things agentic, and we're also going to use some different formats of video to see how it works.
So Jason, we were half joking last year when we asked the question, what even are agents? But let's talk about it again here to really understand what the notion of agentic means and how we can have some common definitions going into this season all about agents.
If we're making a season about it, we should probably have some common definitions before we get into the rest of it.
Yes, we should.
So let's first talk about some different things about what actually makes an agent. And what's great is there's been so many publications more recently about what makes something agentic and then what those different flavors of agentic behavior actually are. For the first part, I think it's easiest to think of something being agentic as using non-determinism in something like a generative AI LLM to perform a task or a set of tasks where the specific outcome is not deterministic or not the same answer every time. Now, agentic behaviors can be tied together in order to create workflows or even AI agents that combine these tasks and workflows together to drive to a specific outcome.
So that's a good starting point. I'll add on to that with how we talk about AI agents versus agentic workflows. Generally, a workflow is going to be more deterministic, and it's going to be more focused on the decision-making and outcomes. They'll be more predictable than you'd have with an AI agent. Or with an agent, we're going to give it agency to make and take decisions that it needs to in order to accomplish a goal or an outcome. This is an important distinction because many of the things we want to do and build don't actually need an AI agent. They're better suited for an agentic workflow. A true AI agent can pick any number of tasks in any order to accomplish the outcome, whereas a workflow will be more probabilistic and predictable.
I think those are a great kind of set of rules for us to apply here. So let's walk through a couple examples. First one I have is just using a workflow. So here, what we may have is an example flow is one that can process an invoice, where the workflow may use an LLM that has a set of tools to analyze the invoice, scrape the data off of it, and then put the data into a form. Now, in this case, the user still reviews the information and ultimately uploads what was in the form to a processing tool. An agent in this example could be something like a software agent, where the only thing you give the agent is a goal, which is, hey, I want to create a website with the game Snake. Now, what the agent then does is define what tasks it has to go perform, performs the tasks, and even does reflection to make sure that the tasks are meeting what the outcome is that the agent specified. And all of this is being done autonomously to reach the initial goal that was specified, and ideally the outcome that we want.
So, Jason, why is this actually important, and how the heck are we going to use this in this series?
That's a great follow-up question. So here, if we think about how we need to break down agentic behavior, a lot of this really comes down to things that we do in human interaction. So how much agency do I have, or how much agency do you have to make certain decisions that you may have in something in like a business setting? We have to take these and then break all these things apart. Next question back to you. When should I use an agentic workflow or even create my own AI agent?
So interestingly enough, many of the questions we have to solve today or the things that people are trying to build don't actually need AI agents. Agentic workflows are a better fit. You can get significant benefit from putting a single LLM step or maybe a couple LLM steps into an existing deterministic workflow. For example, maybe doing some processing or a summarization step. When you build agentic flows like that, it's important to consider the risks, both positive and negative, and also what could happen if you made it fully agentic. If you build an agentic agent, for example, for customer service, you need to be prepared that the agent may not make the decisions that you as a human would have chosen to make in some circumstances. In this case, scaling back things like that to more of a workflow where you're intentionally putting a human in the loop and behaving more deterministically may be better. But in those situations where you can define a goal and an outcome, and you can define a logical trigger for the agent, an agent may be best suited to do something for you where the autonomy is desirable.
That really makes a lot of sense to me. So another thing that we heard from everyone at home is that we want to see more examples of these things in action. And so as we go along this season, we'll be publishing a number of different code snippets or architectural examples to the GitHub links below, where you can go try out some of the most important concepts that we're talking about here in each of our videos. We hope these will help you take some of these abstract topics and just make it implementable for your specific use case.
So it's great to be back with all y'all for this season as we dig into agents and unpack agenticness. More videos and references are in the links below. We hope that these are great starters for you to see how to build a few different examples of agents and agentic workflows. And as always, Jason,
Happy prompting.
happy prompting.